This is part 2 of Britain's Best Driver's Car, the 35th time we have run this competition. Last time out, we ran you through places 11 to 6. This Pop Pickers is the top 5 rundown. Now excuse the quick call to action. You can find more details of Britain's Best Driver's Car over at autocar.co.uk or in the magazine, where you can read the full verdicts from the best team in the business by going to themagazineshop.com, where you can also find offers on accessing the full 128-year Autocar archive. Also find Autocar on all the socials, and you can tell me I'm wrong on Instagram at Automatic Transmission, but please be nice about it. Back to the countdown then. In 5th place, one of 2023's best hot hatchbacks, an F-Reg Peugeot.
So here is a throwback to Britain's Best Driver's Car of an era when, I'm sure we were running it back when these Peugeot 205 GTIs first appeared on the scene. Maybe worse, 30-something years ago, when we first started doing these. Anyway, this is a 205 GTI modified by Tolman Engineering, it says down there. Take this car to nearly 200 horsepower. Make a few other changes. But fundamentally, it's 205. I mean, visibility is unbelievable. I'm going to put these digital dials in. They're really cool. I like them very much, and they change whether you put the sport mode on or not, which sort of affects the throttle map. The lovely thing about this car on the road is that it is small and light, and you're doing it all yourself. It's got good balance. Some people love a 205 GTI. I'm a big fan of them. I don't know if this steers as naturally or as easily as a 1.6 I've driven. It's been a long time since I drove a 1.6 205 GTI, and I've never driven a 1.9. You do get some road feel back through the steering, which is lovely. Pedals are sort of decently spaced. This engine is great, actually. It's got loads of torque all the way through. It revs to sort of 7.5. We're getting up there now. And then it's got a nice balance to it. Carries quite a lot of grip. More than I was using there. The rev counter goes green at 5, which is a touch that I like very much. You don't really need to rev it all the way out, but it's quite nice if you do, but you don't really need to. Roll is limited, body control is very tight, there's a little bit of understeer. It's a front wheel drive car, so as you come on the power, that tends to settle it. The driving position is a bit weird because it's old fashioned, so you sit quite upright. The seats let you move around quite a lot, probably a bit too much. The steering wheel doesn't adjust, so it's sort of in your lap. It feels a bit like you're driving a Dodge, you know. And visibility is great, but there is that thing with old cars. You just feel the tail just starting to move around a bit behind the front end. That actually, with so much glass area compared to a modern car, which can feel quite cocooning, you do feel a little bit what if vulnerable. Now, some racing drivers don't worry about that sort of thing. That plays on the back of my mind from time to time. I really like the balance. Actually, I think it has a nice off throttle balance on the way in. It doesn't sort of just drag itself into understeer or anything on the way out. And then as you lift and turn, it does that thing that 205s always were famous for, is that nice sort of mid-corner tuck. They weren't built for racetracks, you know. I mean, this is a long corner for a car like a 205 GTI. A modern supercar, just sort of, or racing cars, you know, are different around there. This is a road car predominantly. It's actually in the slower corners where it shows its balance best, but it shows its balance very nicely. It's got a really cracking engine. Just through the sort of upper mid-range, I think, is where it excels, and you just get loads of mechanical feel, just telling you a lot all the time. Yeah, I think it's good. I like it very much.
What a joy then a compact, agile, chuckable hot hatchback can still be. A remarkable piece of work so far on from its original launch, but brand new in at number 4, one of any number of Porsches we could have had along this year. It is the high-riding, easy-riding Dakar.
So this 911 is one of 2 in this year's contest, the other one being the GT3 RS, which is effectively the car that is back to defend its title, because the Porsche GT3 won this last year and the year before. And we usually invite back the winner to defend his crown. So here we are. Just seen an Audi RS7 go very sideways in the rearview mirror. I did not expect that. Right. The Dakar then is a, well, as I imagine you will know, a raised 911. Porsche has history with the Dakar rally, but you know, most modern 911s have been not rally cars as a rule. But they think with a bit more travel in the suspension, something a bit softer, it could be quite a good laugh. So let's find out. So it has variable height, but I'll put it on the lower one because this is a racetrack after all. You don't want, there's only so much travel you want on a situation like this. It's got quite a grunty engine. There's a little bit of understeer there at the edge of that slower corner, and then it just powers through it a bit, but it moves around. I mean, it's a damp track anyway, but it moves around a bit more than your average 911 would, certainly more than a GT 911 does. It's got sort of quickish steering though, relatively light. The nice thing is that you could just sort of tip it in and just go, well, I'll just sort it out. It's very trustworthy, it's very faithful. It does push, it does nudge up to a bit of understeer in these damp conditions. Maybe you can unsettle it. You can sort of unsettle it a bit and drive through. See if I turn off everything. PSM Sport. PSM is switched off, so that's now taken everything off. And if I put the dampers into a slightly stiffer mode, we'll see what they do. But it's nice. There's loads of pull throughout this engine's rev range, which is particularly nice. There you go. It will adopt a nice slide. It doesn't feel. Oh, will adopt a nice slide. It doesn't feel out of its place on a circuit, which is the nice thing. You know, they've taken a car, they've raised it up. You know, normally if you want a track 911, you buy something off of the GT department price list rather than the standard range. But this does not feel out of its depth and out of place here at all. It is good fun. I'm not sure it's a winner, but it is good fun.
From 4th to 3rd and one Porsche to another. You suspect in the dry the Dakar might not have finished quite so high, and this, the GT3 RS, might have finished even higher.
So the GT3 RS, Porsche 911 GT3 RS, one of 2 911s in this contest this year, and it effectively replaces the GT3, which won last year and the year before, one of the few double Champinos we've had in this competition. Now, 911 GT3 RS would usually come on pretty racy, vibration from someone, Pilot Sport Cup rubber. By a peculiar quirk of fate, in that this car is very new, Porsche is burning through some tyres. There aren't loads available yet. It's on some Goodyear Eagles, which actually in these conditions may not be a disaster, rather than sort of cut to our super sticky blue tack dry circuit tyres. It steers beautifully. Big sort of heavy steering wheel paddles. There's a hint of understeer there, but everything's cold, so Steering's really precise. Get a bit of feel. Yeah, the weight builds up, you know what's going on. Very clicky, heavily clicked paddles. Reminds me of the early McLaren paddles, which they said were like the Formula 1 McLarens, you know, they were quite heavy. I kind of prefer a slightly lighter clicky one. You can actually bang it through with a stick if you want to. It's very controlled. I expected it to be, It's a 911. They do superb control, they're good in all conditions. It's got a mega engine, this thing. It revs to 9,000, makes what, 525 metric horsepower. Let's see if we can get a little bit of heat into these tyres. I've got everything on at the moment. So you can change the modes of various things. I'm in sport mode at the moment. There's normal, sport and track. Sport's probably right for a damp circuit. It should not be this good in these conditions, really, because it's such a sort of focused track car. Right, I've turned off everything. Now let's see what it is like. Lots of nice, easy balance. Will push on to understeer if you are not careful. Or if you are careful, actually, you know, if it just sort of, it'll just, once you exceed the limits of grip, it'll probably push into a little bit of understeer in these conditions. Now let's see, will it drift? Yes, it will. How easily? Oh, beautifully. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the nicest balance. Once you're beyond steady state of any car here, I think that's really... it's really lovely. And it's the one car that, one, is brilliant in these conditions, but you would also be rather sad that it isn't in dry conditions. Just feel it just nudging up to its limit of understeer, and then it's just happily to be balanced there, or you can either push against it like that, or if you just unsettle it, you can push through it. So we had a sort of a day on the road yesterday where the conditions were windy, blustery, a little bit damp, a bit miserable, and I was thinking, well, these are not conditions that would play into a GT3 RS's hands. But oh boy, when you wind this thing, even in these conditions, it is. It is. Oh, there's the understeer. There you go, there's the oversteer. Quite a lot of it. It is just bloody brilliant. Yeah, what a piece of kit. What a piece of kit. 2 911s here this year, and they are both fabulous. And we could have invited a GT3 back, I suppose, technically. And we could have a 911 ST here as well, which I tried the other day. Video elsewhere on this channel, like and subscribe, which was also brilliant. And it's not like they haven't done anything with a Cayman or anything else in the range in the meantime either. I mean, do they just make the best drivers' cars of the moment?
And so from one track-focused car to one that is even more raw. The Ariel Atom 4 was a 2-time winner of this contest, and the 4R is even more angry. But it's cold and wet. Just how special does a car like this have to be to finish so high up the order?
Righto!
These are not the natural conditions for an Ariel Atom. I'll go down the pit lane and I'm already getting wet. Right, we may have to subtitle this, so sorry if you can't hear me, but we'll see how we go. An Atom has finished first in this contest before, and the 4.5 is the latest and greatest. A very small gear selector icon on the screen. Oh man alive, it's freezing. It is also not overburdened with traction when you're fresh out of the pit race. Oh my god, it's windy. It's windy on this circuit anyway, it's windy in this car. It's threatening to pull my lid off. You don't need to shift or you don't need to clutch on upshift or downshift. You can use the clutch on downshift to smooth out if you want a bit. Oh yes, hello. The lovely thing about this, the Atom is that even in these conditions, and we've driven them extensively in the wet before, they have just really great balance, really adjustable, trustworthy handling. The modern Atom is a really gorgeous car to drive in all conditions. Very karty. Really lovely. And really exciting, really engaging. The steering's very heavy. There's the understeer, there's the oversteer. Oh man, it's good. It's so nice. Even in these lousy conditions. There's that lovely balance. You get all the pushes and winds off the turbo. It's an incredibly engaging, indulgent experience. So these days there are different throttle backs. They haven't quite sorted out all of them on this yet. There's also adjustable traction control, which is at 3 at the moment. So what if I'll just turn it up to 4. Turn it down to 1, and in a minute, in the right corner, I'll just try and play around. Oh, it's so nice. You could just sense exactly under braking how much power, how much grip you've got. I mean, on the throttle, how much traction you've got. Just tells you everything. And what more could you want from a driver's car than something that tells you exactly what's going on? Oh man alive, I love this car. Absolutely love this car. Never been more windswept. Seldom been sprayed with water more than this. And I have rarely ever been happier at the wheel either. Oh, it's great. It's great.
I think in the conditions the Atom 4R and the 911 GT3 RS did unbelievably well to finish this high up the rankings, but in the end there could be only one. And as befitting a wet autumn day, it is some roughy-tufty 4x4, sort of.
My colleagues keep coming back into the driver's room going, has a car with a roof rack ever won this contest before? Because they seem to like the Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato quite a lot. It makes quite a noise. I wonder if I can make that quieter. Ah, no, what the hell. We're at track. Why not? Let it do its thing. This is a bit like the Porsche 911 Dakar. It's Lamborghini's version, off-roady, rally raid, whatever. Lamborghini engineers were driving an Urus and they said, "God, this is good, we should do this more often." And then one of them went, "Well, why don't we do it to a Huracan?" Yeah. nice idea. So they tried it, and this is it. I have tried it before. I drove it on the international launch, really enjoyed it. Just has nice, easy, breathing, longish travel suspension. If there is a problem, I think it's developed for dusty conditions because it has no carpet. These are not the conditions for, you know, these are not the floors on which to dry your feet. Let's put it that way. But let's see what it's like. I mean, it is slightly mad to have this level of pitch and dive at the same time as you get that engine going on in the background and this interior environment. You know, this is a Lamborghini supercar through and through. The steering is very light, really light. I mean, it's not. I'm not sure I'm getting much road feel from it. It's got a mad engine, isn't it? I mean, what an accident. Oh, hello. Steers quickly, responds very quickly. That engine has bonkers response. If you're out somewhere on a gravelly stage, that's, you know, not a disadvantage. Or if you're in sand, because actually you want a really quick throttle response, because you may want lots of power very quickly, and big spinning wheels are an advantage on a wet racetrack. It may be an advantage. We'll see. Still, body control is really well contained and controlled. It moves around more than a conventional Huracan, as you would expect. But there it goes. Oh, yeah, that just moves around really nicely. Touch of steady state understeer if you sort of just drive up to it. But I think if you do pretty much anything, yeah, I mean, that's sort of breaking into sort of a slight movie around thing at 90 odd miles an hour in fourth. It wants to move around, it wants to change its attitude a bit. It seems to do it in quite a both lively but also slightly trustworthy manner. It's got both elements of understeer and oversteer. Sometimes it feels obviously not possible, but sometimes at the same time it feels, but certainly in the same corner. Perhaps if you just try and drive it smoothly, I wonder. Stop moving around. That's really lovely. There's a sort of competent composure to it that works very, very nicely. I mean, because of its demeanour, because of the way they sort of pitch it, it almost feels like you should just, you know, be a bit silly and mess around with it. But actually, if you drive it how I think you might drive a Huracan otherwise on a circuit, you know, with smoothness and precision. There is a really good car in here, but one that you can sense moving around and works with you. And also one that, as you turn in at 85 miles an hour, considers that it wants to move into a mild oversteering slide. I mean, it's cool. These are not, I don't think, the conditions it was made for, but I've had as much fun in this Huracan as I've had, I think, in almost any other Huracan since this car was launched. It's had a long life, this car. Remember, the first ones were really quite understeery. Lamborghini said, yeah, customers like that. They want a nice, stable, sensible, you know, car that has all the drama but none of the worry. And over the years, they've made it better and honed it more and more and more, and it's become more fun as a driver's car. It's become more naturally balanced. And it's culminated in this, which I think on the road is actually the nicest of them all. On track, it's not the nicest of them all, but it is good. It is capable, it's sound, and when you want to mess around a bit, it messes around a bit. Quite like that sort of slightly, carefree. Not a massive fan of all Lamborghinis, but I like the cut of this one's Jim. Good thing. Who knows what my colleagues will think.
And so Autocar's Britain's best driver's car of 2023 is the Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato. All but one of our 5 judges put it top in their finishing order, and out of a possible 250 points, it scored 219. All of us reckoned it was more fun than we'd had in perhaps any other Lamborghini ever. And although the Huracan's production is slowly running down, we know that the Sterrato has given the good people of Lamborghini something to think about next time too. We'll be there for that and much more in the meantime. If you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, you'll never miss an Autocar video. For news and reviews, head to autocar.co.uk. Why not try the My Week in Cars podcast too, from wherever you get your podcasts. And you can get your weekly fix of Autocar by heading to themagazineshop.com. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.